I believe that food is the conduit to love and to show people that we really deeply care about them and their success, and that every time we do the opposite, it is the opposite. It's disrespecting people. When you live that, even if it's briefly, it affects you forever. Because when you are in that, it's the loneliest place in the world, but also you feel like everybody thinks you're garbage. I want to be that person that's there for somebody else when this comes into that place, and I want to build an entire structure that's ready to help people. When I was looking at traditional meal programs that were being served by government and by other folks all across North America, I was nothing short of disgusted. It was really upsetting because the metric of success is how many people you can feed, not how many people you can feed well. Somebody says, hey, can I have some money because I'm hungry? Which happens all day, every day in every city that we know of. Most people ignore them, most people won't talk to them. So instead of pretending that that's not a thing that people don't ignore and they don't give money, I just asked everybody why they don't give money. And they said, I don't give money because I don't trust people with it that I think they'll use for drugs or alcohol. Now that bias sucks, but it's real. So we have to address it as real. Just says sandwich. It's only redeemable for a sandwich. You can't trade it for cash. It's not worth any drugs. What I was most excited about is that you would hand it to somebody. So yes, I'm excited that you're gonna get a sandwich. Great. You're hungry, you have a place of inclusion you can go to. That's really cool. I'm way more excited that you're going to talk to somebody who's feeling super isolated and street entrenched. When I had done my second bout where I was unhoused, I was living with my best friend at the time in East Vancouver, I fell to addiction to drugs and alcohol. And in that time, I used to go to a place called Save on Meats that had been there since 1957. And I'd sit at the counter and I'd eat a burger for like $3.50 and I'd get really full. But I ate there because I didn't have a lot of resource. And I also felt a lot of judgment at the time, as you do when you're battling with addiction. And in that space were cops, cons, everybody in between. And it was one of those rare places where that occurs in this day and age. We employ people that have physical disabilities, mental disabilities, traditional other barriers, and that being a rap sheet. Somebody's made bad decisions in their life. I've made a bunch of them, and I've worked my way out of them. We don't look at any of that as a hindrance. We look at it as a diverse ability or something that you could actually bring to the job that's more important. Homelessness is a symptom. Poverty is what I care about. We have more than enough resources, times 100, to fix all of these things. They're just going to the wrong places. We just have to be smarter. We just have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO of Mark Brand, Inc., Mark Brand.
Okay, we're gonna do something. Everybody stand up, please. I know, even those of you who are using your laptops, especially those of you who are using your laptops, up. I've been a businessman for a very long time now, and when I think about all of the tools at our disposal, including Domo, this is the one that is most important to me. So I'm gonna ask you to have a trust moment with me and close your eyes. And then just think about somebody who inspires you really deeply and take a real big deep breath in and out. And then one more big breath and just feel into your fingertips and your toes if you can still feel them after sitting for so long. We're miracles. All right, open your eyes, grab a seat, and let's do this thing. I want to say that I'm extremely excited to be back here. The This journey started 1.5 years ago in Salt Lake. There's a gentleman in the audience. His name is Eamon Storr. He's the former CEO of the Guardian newspaper USA. Him and I were having a conversation, and I was helping him navigate some things, and he said, "What do you need?" And I said, "Well, what I need, I don't think you can provide me with, but I need data." And he said, "Funny, I have one client, and they're called Domo." And about 3 weeks later, I was out here speaking at Silicon Slopes, and I found a new family. I find family all the time. Community is a huge word for us, and I mean it. And whether we find them digitally or we find them in the street, it's important to me. And I was doing a talk not too long ago, and I met this gentleman, and I unloaded on him. I just walked up to him in the street. I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm doing okay. How are you doing?" I'm like, "Terrible. I'm having a terrible day." He's like, "Cool. Tell me all about it." As you can probably see from the picture, he's living street entrenched. His name is Michael. But you know what? Michael's just a human. Michael has the same ability to listen and to be intentional and everything else that we all have. And I unloaded my problems. And as I was walking away, I was like, "Hey, do you want to come grab something to eat with me?" He's like, "Nah, I already ate. I'm good. But I want to show you something." And he reached back in his cart and he pulled this out and he showed it to me. And I took a picture and I show it at every single talk because it just shows the reality. Michael was for me in that moment. And all the moments leading up to it that I was unleashing selfishly. Because human being, we're just all the same. So in that note of who inspires you and why, I want to share quickly with you somebody who inspires me. It's this gentleman here. I opened my first restaurant in 2006, named after my mom, also featured heavily here on my neck forever, Bonita, in an area called the Downtown East Side. Has anybody been to Vancouver? Show of hands. Appreciate y'all. There's a neighborhood there called the Downtown East Side. It is the largest open-air drug market in North America, possibly the world. Yes, bigger than the Tenderloin as far as density. Yes, more intense than Skid Row. Hard to believe, but true. And my businesses all operate there. The first restaurant I opened, I was not involved in social impact or social purpose. And I saw this guy every single day cleaning up, and I had no idea why, and more importantly, who paid him. I was like, "Is there a project I don't know about?" And so I would watch him, but I never had a conversation with him. I was scared to. I was literally scared because when I would see somebody who looked like they were either homeless or mentally ill, regardless of my lived experience, I would fake a phone call and cross the street. And I would do that because I was scared of what would happen if I had a conversation. Because my ego was scared that if they asked me for something I couldn't give them, then what would happen? Well, what happens is a conversation. But we do these things because we can't identify and we don't know what to do when we feel stuck. So one day I walked out of my apartment, about to walk to my restaurant, and I see Mike laying on the ground, covered in snow. And I can't step, but I walk across the street and I walk straight over to him and I lean down and I'm like, butterflies in my stomach. I'm feeling crazy nervous, like weirdly super so, and lean down and go, "Hey man, are you okay?" And he looks straight up at me and goes, "No." I was like, "I knew that. That's why I came over here." And I said, "I have coffee at my restaurant." He's like, "Yeah, I know. I see you every day. Do you have beer?" And I was like, "It's 9 a.m. He's like, "Do you have beer?" And we became very fast friends. I'm sober now. So Mike and I talked about what his life had led to that he was laying on the street. I was seeing him cleaning up every day. He was fine. He was in great shape. And long story short, he had lost his housing because service was difficult to navigate for him. He became my first barrier employee. And now about 58% of the 200 people in our multiple companies are those of barriers. But Mike was my inspiration. He showed up to work every day, 7 to 7, outworked everybody. And all he needed was a chance and somebody to see him. It didn't come with those challenges, but it was important. Now, I just told you about Mike. I could also tell you that 2 different studies say 1.4 million children are homeless in America, and another study says 38,000. Both of them are wrong. But does it evoke emotion? Data needs story. Data is wonderful. It helps me get through to every single meeting in every office and every bureaucrat I need. But without the story, it doesn't land for people. Now, when I tell you about Mike, you're already invested. You now want to meet Mike. Well, you better want to meet Mike because he's amazing. He's also a part-time model for Vice. You care about Mike. Data needs story to build empathy. And when we have empathy, because we all have it, no matter how cold-hearted and ladder climbing you are, you have empathy. It is one thing that is unique to us on this planet is that we can actually almost put ourselves in people's shoes if we want to. Hollywood bets on it. Michael was estranged from his family through working with us. He got reconnected. This is his grandson, Jamal, post-surgery. The guy, honest to God, he's unkillable. He has like 6% renal function left and is still working. He's amazing. He's a person who needed help and needed support. Now, I could tell that story without the data of how it fixed and helps people in our organization find upward mobility. But without this, it doesn't land for the people I need to help us most. It just doesn't. Story needs the data to build trust. If I don't have that, I can't then get the people I need to make this move. So we work specifically with Domo. After telling them my problems, they were like, oh, that's it? Yeah, we can do that. We can aggregate all this data for you and create this thing. I was like, that's interesting because I've been trying to do it for 5 years and can't. And they were like, you could stay in the kitchen. We'll do this thing. This rings true. We are the loneliest society that has ever existed while being the most connected. And people get addicted. We are in the face of this opioid crisis right now by hundreds of millions, and we lose them because we are missing connection with humans. This is my favorite thing because I'm looking you guys in the eyeballs right now. We're going to talk on the internet later, and that'll be fun, but this is better. And this is why we want technology. So with Domo, we were like, how do we get people en masse who are isolated out of that feeling and connect them to services that matter? Because over years and years of research, one of the biggest challenges people face is, where do I go to get what I need? So we're starting to build this platform, and in the research that I did throughout California and now in New York, what we found was 92% of people experiencing homelessness already have a device that they can connect to. All of the things that have been built, platform generated, are built by people who have not experienced this. They don't know what it looks like, and more importantly, what we want is the people to be able to share their own data and come up with their own and feel their own agency. So in doing so, we also want to be able to connect folks to other folks who are experiencing the same thing. My community is incredible. If you come to the downtown east side, you'll be able to talk to somebody that'll help you navigate a service. That won't happen the same in smaller communities. How do we create those things? So with Domo, we're going to be able to then bring that data up so I can walk into City Hall, Utah, and be like, hey, we have 3,217 people homeless. 2,400 of those are families, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That gives us an actual target to solve for. When I go in there and say, we have a homeless problem, people are like, cool, but you can't design for the issue unless you have specific data. And the best people to give us specific data and to be in control of that are the folks who are experiencing it. One of my great peers and mentors said something to me that rang really true about a decade ago, and it was, people are experts in their own lives. They don't need us to tell them. So we love creating community, and I have one here at Domo. I have a family here, and one of my family members, her name is Andrea, and she works on the data side, and she's helped create all the stuff that we work with, and she is a soldier for us. And I said to Andrea when we were working on our next iteration of what we were gonna do, I said, what do you care about? And she said, actually, I've had a lot of personal experience with this, and my kids care about this a lot. I was like, your kids care about this? She said, yeah, a lot. I was like, cool, let me see some stuff then. Have your kids build me a deck. She was like, what? And so they did. And this is from one of her sons, Levi, and it says, kids experiencing homelessness are normal kids just like me. Fact. This was an illustration of me as Sonic the Hedgehog from Casey. It should be my icon for every social platform. And this is from her son, Oliver, and it says, I like to save some of the money I get from doing my jobs and give it to places that help people who are homeless. We train this out of ourselves. We're born to do this work. We love it. We care. And then we get caught up. In creating community, we work also on how we get to spaces of convening. You'll see Football Mike rocking an eye patch there on the left. Sometimes he thinks he's a pirate. He actually lost an eye and refuses to take a fake. He prefers the leather eye patch. He thinks it's rock and roll. The gentleman in the center is a former opioid addict himself and was 7 years homeless. He is now one of our biggest advocates. His name is Justin Van Westen. We do convenings for people who are unhoused to have fine dining meals and come in and get served by folks like you. It's called Plenty of Plates. It's one of my favorite things in the world. You also have to cook it. You also have to do the dishes. You also have to clean up. There's a long list of things that you guys are going to do. It's great. Don't worry. So Justin sends me this email, and in building community, we have unintended consequences. And it says, hey, Mark, I just want to thank you and your team for being absolutely amazing and supportive of the community. Great. I'm working on looking at what it means to honor relationships for those in the community. Relationships are not honored, especially in our homeless population. I remember when Una, his now wife, and I started our relationship and never had a date for the first 4 years. So where I'm going with this is that I'll have 3 couples coming to Plenty of Plates tonight, and this is a game changer for these people being honored in their relationships. Thank you so much for building the capacity to make space in this community. What? I'm sorry, Justin, what did you say? Dates? Unintended consequence. Of course you have a partner in the street. Why wouldn't you? But where would you go to honor that relationship? Well, you come to our diner and you do that. And that's important. And that's data. This is important. It's important to be able to be with the people you love and to have spaces to do that. So, I'm really big on action, not just advocacy. I have really good friends, and we were convening last week. They're anti-gun violence representatives in Oakland, and they said to me, we need accomplices, not allies. This is one of my accomplices. Can we make her feel super welcome? So Kat and I are going to share a moment here. Is anybody in the audience a lawyer and not embarrassed about it? Okay, cool. We're going to deputize you all as lawyers. We're going to share a social contract right now, okay? I'm going to say something to Kat. She's going to say it straight back to me. Ready? And you're all going to witness it, so we're on the hook. I promise to leave the world a better place than I found it.
I promise to leave the world a better place than I have found it.
Do we believe her? Okay, now all of you stand up and turn to somebody that you don't know, and please share those exact same words right now. Come on, quick, quick. Okay, when you finish up, sit back down, and we're going to wrap up here before Josh comes out and drags me off stage. Thank you, Kat. Now, you guys are going to see each other at another conference. It's going to happen, and you're going to lock eyes from across the room, and you're going to be like, hey, remember that thing that you said? How's that going? And you're going to use guilt and leverage. It's totally fine. This is my favorite quote in the world. Imagine food can be anything in this quote. Bad food is made without pride by cooks who have no pride and no love. Bad food is made by chefs who are indifferent or who are trying to be everything to everybody, who are trying to please everyone. Bad food is fake food. Food that shows fear and lack of confidence in people's ability to discern or to make decisions about their lives. That was said by this great man. We miss him. 1 in 4 people suffer from some type of mental illness. Real stat, probably higher. That means it's normal. We have to have conversations about things. When gentlemen who can create the best AI companies in the world are formerly homeless, that means it's normal. When things get darkest, we must be our brightest. We must love our hardest. I'm Mark. Thank you.